All right, guys, how we doing today? Tuesday, August 13th. Well, we got plenty of volatility in traditional assets today. So threw up the poll this morning, and you guys, gold was the first choice here. So we're going to look at it here via the CFD. So those of you that might consider trading this with your Forex broker, that's your opportunity to do it, right? And perhaps give you some more flexibility in terms of the size in which you trade it, and perhaps margin requirements to hold positions overnight if you're going to try and swing trade it. Now, so along those lines, this is a weekly chart, and I've got this is all the data I've got here. So I'm going back here to the '06 low here, and we've been through gold many times before, but just quick review here, so no surprise. All right, swing low, high, golden zone. One other thing here I think is worth noting here, because we'll get into the hard right edge here, but just so we have a technical low, and we had this structure here, this it's 1375, call it, was just resistance consistently, and as we've broken through. A few interesting things just to note here. One thing that's very common, I just leave this up here so you can see it. Well, you could think of this as a trend line or the channel here, that once the channel breaks, it's very common for the market to do this. If it's breaking a channel, unless it's really going to scream, there'll be a retest here. So even whether you're thinking of this as a trend line or channel, same difference right here in this case. So this little retrace here to test that, that's our launching point. So this is something to watch for. It's very common for the market to come back and test that. So we've got the start of a count on this. I think one thing, a couple things to note here. So let's go to a daily here. I'm gonna have to scrunch this back up a little bit. All right. So with this idea established here of that's just something to note that's very common for those, whether it's a trend line or a channel, to get a break like that, come back and retest it from the other side. Something to watch for. So you look here and you go, all right. So couple things we might do just to, on the assumption that we're going to have to work with essentially a truncated C here of this wave 2. So I'm just going to work from my low to my high here. I'm going to project from that. So we're through the 100. So we're long enough to where you could certainly make a case here that we've got the start. At the very least, we've got to start on a third. Here's your 1618, right? So this is why this is sitting up here. If we're going to get a true third, that's so you can just easily start to put the count together. Okay, looks like a 3 is going in here, so something along these lines. You could get that degree down. Let's change it. We'll go to green. Okay, so you can see how this can all right. So looks like it's starting to fit together. But you look here and you go, All right, well, a couple of things I can note here. Well, so look at we get a little pocket in the volume profile here, and that's a reflection. We can look left here and say, all right, well, let's do it this way. We can get both of these. And, all right, I got this pivot, and draw this over here, and you go, oh, is that why it stops there? Remember, there are no random pivots, zero in the market. In my opinion, right? You don't have to take my word for it. Okay, so we just say here and go, all right, well, here's it's not the dominant, but there's a secondary pivot. Right, it's the 65 to the tick. So now you look and you go, okay, so is that why it's stopping there? Is it the structure here? Is it something relative to the 1, 2, 3 that's in here? Well, let's see what else we can find here. Let's take the length of that 1, projected from the 2. All right, so we've come right out. Here's the 1272. Here's the next target. So if we're getting through up here, you can see here's the 1618, 175 for the third at this degree. All right, so if we're going to take another run at the 65 here, note what happens here. Okay, let me pull this back. So if we break the 65, which is this moment in time, I guess this is maybe clouding the chart up a little bit. I just wanted you to see that, always look left, right? Is there structure here to accommodate that rationale? Why do we stop there? Of course, if we do break this 65 on the way to this third at that 1618, well, of course, next thing you got to do is you got to bring it back one. All right, now look where that sits. Right at the 618, right at the next golden zone. So if you wanted to fatten that up, you should give yourself a fatter target here. This would be a substantial break to break that 65 from the high, right? That's been, when we do that, 2011. So an 8-year 65 that's been in play there, just swing low, just dominant to dominant. So we've got all of that's in play. Let's pull this off here. So we know that is an area of resistance we're going to have to contend with. So we can kind of make sense of what's happening here. There's one other thing to note, right? Of course, we've got 3 pivots, so of course, we're going to put some median lines on. I'm going to use the C leg here if I can get this right on it. I'm a tad off here. Let's make sure I'm right on these here. Bear with me just a sec. Get these dialed in. You got to get them right there. And when you change time frames, you'll find that these will get a little sloppy. So let's get these dialed in here. All right, so let's pull back here. Make sure we've got our low. That looks fairly good, but let's get it tight. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so pulling back out now. So now you've kind of put that all back together with the pull from the B wave here. And you kind of can understand what we ran into here. So running into the 65, the median line from the proposed 1-2 here. Now, is that enough? Well, it certainly stopped it in its tracks, whether it's the 65 median line, something, right? Again, there are no random pivots. And we've got this air pocket here over in the volume profile. So if we're going to retrace here, it would look like, we're going to have to go down to a smaller time frame. It doesn't look to me like we're done here. It looks to me like this still has the potential, if we're going to go to those higher probability zones, if we're going to retrace a little bit, to push back up to something like this to give us the completion of the third. So we're going to go into that subdivision, right, as you would, right? You're trying to get a handle on this. Could we be done here? We can understand. We know why it stops there. Right? Well, I just give you 3 reasons. You choose which one you prefer. All right? I would tell you it's the combination of all 3 of them. That's why we stopped there. Right? Now it goes defending there. We'll pull this off here. All right, so let's go to the 8-hour. All right, see if there's a trade setting up here. So we can certainly make a case that the 1-2 of this degree. So if the larger degree 2 is in here, I can certainly get a 1-2 here. So we just looked at that. So of course this will be an important pivot here if we're going to stay with an impulse. So can I get? Well, I do that on 8-hour. I may have to go to a 4 here. Let's look at it. Okay, so if that's my 2, I don't love. Well, let's look at that. I don't love this as my 2, but it may be all I'm left with here. Down to a 4-hour. This very typical of a 4. So it Jesus. So it looks like we've got A, B, C. Which is a little unusual. That's what it appears just at first glance. So this is, yep, I think that's what we got to go with here. So I think you're stuck with, or just using what you've got to work with here, 3. I'm going to put it there for the time being. Take a quick look there, see if that's the best thing we can come up with there. So hang on a second here. Let's get this. Let's go to submenu. We'll put it in blue. Okay, so is that? I wouldn't pick that. A, B, C. Shit, can I get a 1? You might. Okay, so we can simplify. So when in doubt, can I simplify? All right, if I can simplify this, I might be able to get this to work here. So the assumption is, right here we've got a very slight break. So you did get that looks like a couple of ticks. All right, so that would be bullish, which supports the idea that we're not done yet here. So if that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 3, I can get an ABC here, but then I'm going to have to turn this. This is going to have to play as a diagonal. So I'm a little, I can't say I love that. Let's see if we can make that work. That's long enough. So here's kind of what I'm eyeballing here, just at first glance. Just so the ABC is easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Might be too much. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think that's too much. So I don't like that as much. So this has to be, you'd have to go A, B, C here. We're going to truncate again. I don't love that because we truncated previously. I'm going to put it there because I don't like this. So do you see the problem? If we tried to go, yes, well, So there's like only a couple of ways. So if you go A, B, if you try to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the symmetry of the 5 is completely off. Now you might be able to go 1, 2, 3, but then this doesn't look like it's part of a diagonal. It looks like it's an impulse unto its own. So I'm more inclined to have to live with this truncated C wave. So we get just a boy, that's ugly indeed. So you've got an expanded flat here. So Jesus, that's not great. So actually, so let me get it right. It's labeled incorrectly. So we'd have to do it this way. Pardon me. Come back here. Okay, so we'd have that's what I think we got to live with here. A, B, C into the expanded B. God, I don't love that, because you're gonna have to dig the 1, 2. Well, that is a 4-hour. You're gonna have to dig the 1, 2 here and go 3, 4, 5. Because if it's gonna play as an expanded flat, you got to go 3, 3. I got to get 5 out of there. So, can we do it? Yeah, I guess you can. It ain't pretty. So, but I guess you can do it this way. So you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Of course, nobody would choose that for their preferred count. But I suppose, lacking a better alternative. Yeah, hang on a second. Let's see. Can we finish this here? I think. Wait a second. Hang on a second. Probably great challenges of doing this on the fly. Okay, so I think I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Let's get that down. All right, so that looks like I can get A here. So let's think about this. So I can go A, B, A, B, C. So I'm thinking W, X, Y is what I'm thinking here. So if I can finish this 5 looks pretty solid. Okay, then that 3 is good. No, can't do it. So this is higher. So we'd have to go, Jesus. Well, so what are we dealing with, right? This is all the policy confusion and the trade wars and everything else is creating just an insane volatility here. So what you might, just in this context of just simplifying, saying some sort of funky, my partner Quan likes to call it sideways fuckery here, with this just, is the Elliott count really helping you here? Well, something corrective is happening here, right? So we do not have a motive wave as to how we ultimately end up labeling this. Let's go subminuet here into the ABC. So then I'd be more inclined to think we'd have to do it this way. So you'd have to do it as a WXY. So let's just clean it up here. So let's go WXY, I think is what we got to live with there. So that's way too hot. Come down here. Okay, so I think we can make that work. A, B, C, and then finish here, because that little impulse here, right? We can't ignore it, into the B. All right, you got to dig your 5 out of that. So I think I think it's good enough, is what I think. All right, so you can just kind of look at it here. So all of this mess is all ties to all of this consolidation before we launch off of. Right, so it's a trade war, and the trade war's off. So markets are just moving all over the place today. So I'm still on an hourly here. So let's pull this off here with that slight break. We've likely got to pull now from the all the way halfway back. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, that could be done here. So let's just take a look here. Let's see if we can put this all back together. If that's the 3, okay, let's go to a 4-hour. Okay, so 1, 2. It's a little short on the 3. So if you're thinking 1, 2. Yeah, I don't love that. I want that 1618 here. So how far away are we? If that's the 1, that's the 2. Yeah, we're not quite there. But this is very characteristic of a 4. All of that slop, that sideways we just had to dig through. The 1, 2 I don't love. So this would not be a 2. So that leaves. So you've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So something has just completed here. More likely because of the 1, 2 and the fact that this has to be a 4. All right. There's no way that's a 2. So can I scrunch anymore? Ah, damn it. All right, let's try the 8. Okay. So if we have to live with that. And we're going to come up a little shy here on the 1618. and we're done. Well, it makes me like the 4 a little less that we didn't get that far. So from here, it doesn't mean I wouldn't take it. I'd prefer it to have gone a little further and really nail that. How are we on these pivots? Those pivots look pretty good. All right, so we've come up a little shy of the median line. That's close, but it's not. We didn't tick it, which is part of what's making me think we've got one more leg on this. So if we're going to come down here, looks like the A could be starting something along these lines. That's what I would expect. So we'd come 4. So we're just completing the 3 here. 4 to the 38 seems reasonable. Let's see if there's anything else there we might lean into. If I have anything, well, this would be. Well, that would be your last stand here. So you could go that deep, but you'd certainly prefer to see, if we're going to have the 3 not get to the 1618, you don't want a deep 4. So this potentially now puts that whole thing. Oh, shit, can I do it here? Oh God, that's annoying. Okay, hang on. Got to scrunch up even more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're trying to do, would that make sense? If we get up here and we complete. Never fails. Okay, so if we complete the 5 here, is that enough of a 3? I don't think it is. God damn it, Trading View. I can't. Sometimes this platform drives me fucking crazy. Okay, so I can't scrunch, so I got to go to a daily. All right, so. All right, let's put that in the context of the retrace from the pivot. So let's take you off. All right, so from the dominant. So we go here to here. All right, so you can see how that's all kind of pointing to that direction. That gets us to the median line. It gets us to the algo target. It gets us to the golden zone from the dominant. But I got to say, I don't love the distance there. So we'd be just doing. That doesn't mean we have to stop there. We'd be just. Here's the higher target that I would rather see. So it's second algo target up here, which would get it done. We'd be blowing through. We'd need to get through the median line, which is just, there'll be algo resistance there. Just the fact that we're hitting the golden zone. So this whole cluster lines up here right as we come. Oh, shit, that's a lot of technical confluence, guys. So that it kind of leaves you cautiously considering that the 3 could be going in here. I suppose the alternate would be that could we have, shit, let's think about that. Could we have 1, 2, 1, 2? Let's just measure it. Wait, let me pull this off since we've got that. So I'm just kind of circling back going, well, is the truncation here my problem, right? It does set up the median lines just beautifully, but that would be a very deep 2. So you see what I'm playing with the alternate is that we've done this, is that this is 1, 2, ABC here. I got to live with a diagonal here. That's the best that's going to be. So this would be the 2. All right, let's just measure, right? When in doubt, measure it out. So if that were the 1 and this were the 2. Still putting us beyond the 65. So if gold is going to continue on this rally and we're going to go up and we are going to test some of those prior highs, we're going to have to break this 65. So this has got to get through there. We got to get up to that. Well, shit, I shouldn't say it that way. It doesn't have to. But you would anticipate that if we're going to get the move here up to the 3 and we're going to get a 4 and a 5 and we're going to keep going, we're off to challenge those old highs. So it's a little bit of a conundrum here, right? It's not ideal. So for me, I do think the 4 to the 5 is definitely tradable. So if we come back into this zone here, so let's look left and see what we can work with. If there's anything here coming back in, so we'd have some of this structure here. So this could be in play. You can see resistance. Potentially now we're back for the support. So I'd keep an eye on that. I think I like this right here, so that's on the buy side. You would not need to give that a lot of room, so you're setting up a move that would give you this here. So from the long, let's just say assume we're going to get the pivot low. I don't know that I'd give it any more than the 50. Well, that gets you 4 to 1. All right, so because you can, you don't have to do it in the futures market over here. You can do it with the CFD. You might start nibbling here as we come approaching the 38, anticipating you might ladder in on the way down. Personally, I'd not give it beyond the 50 because I don't want that deep of a 4 because I'm already a little shy on what I got in the 3 here. And if we're going to trade, if this is going to be 1, 2, and that's going to be the 3. I don't love that either. So let me just back up to one other idea here. So if this is the 1 and this is the 2 of this degree, and we're going for the 3 here, 4, 5. Let's get that up. Oh, here, we'll put that there. So let's think about that range. If that's 1, 2, right, which is certainly viable, right? Wouldn't invalidate anything here. See, now that could actually work better. So do you see where that puts the, oh God, I know that's getting really crowded. Okay, let me get that off of here. Okay, so that would put us, actually that could work right here. Okay, so that puts the 1, 2 at this degree. So this would have to go higher. So this ultimately is more bullish. So if we're going to get the 3 at that degree right here, 4 sets up maybe a move like that to get up here, and now we're getting the 1, 6, 1, 8 at the higher degree. So if it's 1, 2, 1 through an ugly diagonal, just as ugly a 2. If it's 1, 2, the 3 fits better here. All right, so that would give us, that actually fits better. All right, so let's, there's analysis on the fly. 1, 2, 1, 2, and you see what's causing me to skew over here? It's the length here and what we're going to run into. We know there's going to be resistance up here. So if we're going to go up and challenge those pivots, I'm looking for, right, if you're going to project, let's use the most common target. So if this is a reasonable spot, so this would put us at the median line, at the algo target. This would make the 3 at that degree make more sense because we'd go 1, 2, 1, 2, meaning that at this degree here, we're still seeking the 3rd, which could be up here at the median line. And then that makes more sense. So let me pull this off and think about where the bigger degree 1, 2 is. So put us back here, get that right on that low. All right, so now do you see how that all kind of starts to fit in a little bit better up here? So now the 3rd target, let's bring this down, comes in right here. Here's our 1, 6, 1, 8, 1, 7, 5. So at that degree, we'd be looking for, let's see if I can get the whole thing to fit, something along these lines with a 5 up here. All right, let's do the whole thing. All right, so we're going at the highest degree. We're trying to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, did that stick? Okay, so let's see what that looks like. All right, I don't hate that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like that, as a matter of fact. Okay, so then coming down to the degree lower, we'd be doing here 1, 2, seeking the 3, 4, seeking the 5. So that not too terribly bad. All right, so the symmetry all plays better to go 1, 2, 1, 2, which is not where I started. So all right, it's just a process of just working through it. So some people say, Jesus, man, work this stuff out beforehand. Other people like the idea that we work it out on the fly because you just kind of go through the thought process, because I'm assuming that's similar to what you guys are going to work through. So that's why I do these on the fly and then just think it through out loud, because I want you to think about how you would approach that, when you're no longer a student or no longer need anyone's counsel. You're going to go through that same evaluation process, and that's how you would structure it. So does that mean this is the count? Well, of course not. This would just at this moment in time be a primary. All right, so I got to be prepared for an alternate. What if all of this gets invalidated because, well, shit, a tweet, all it takes is a tweet. Look what a tweet did to the market today, right? It's just sorry, I don't want to get my politics involved. It's the lack of policy clarity. How about we say it that way? So because of that, the market is hypersensitive. So algos are just, how many algos do you think are on Trump's Twitter feed? I mean, it's right. So you saw it happen on the open today, right? That's just one. I had a member this morning call it the opening rage, and I think it was a typo. rather than the opening range, but that's exactly what it was. That's the opening range. That's very high risk to trade in, but if you can catch the right side of a move like that, monster payday. Right? That's very atypical, but you know, you see it when the buy programs are kicking in like that, and it's just pure algo driven. Your first challenge is just getting in, right? Just trying to get a fill. Things moving so fast, right? Right off the open, right? 20, 30 points straight up. So I think this count here is worth keeping an eye on. There's certainly lots of potential here. This has been a very long term. Well, remember, this is just a golden zone here. So, by the way, this is a golden corner right here. So I think I showed that earlier. So if we come off the low to the high, so we go golden corner here. So the fact that we haven't made the median line leans me more into an expectation that we get there. So this golden corner is essentially unrealized at this moment in time. So there's the pivot turn. Even though we're trading, so do you see what this is here? Even though it's 1 2 1 2, it's the alternating pivots that we know they like. We know they respond to this. So I get this kind of ABC pattern. It's the next move down, right? That's the one that we can very consistently see algorithms respond to. So we get right between the 50 and the 618. In this term, we go right to the 65, and then there's your golden corner with this as a target, and we didn't get it there. Right, so it's still the 80% is in play and unrealized. If we retrace even just a little bit, this is a very reasonable spot here. This would put us at the 38, right back to this structure. You can just kind of see it over here. I know it's crowded over there, but you can see here's the one standard deviation, right? Here's all your market, the value area, right? You can think of it that way in volume profile speak. I know that's a shitload of stuff on there. It's hard to see it, right? So members, we'll post this up so you can break this down here. We pull that whole thing apart, but that's really what you're looking at. So ideally, so I think the 4 to the 5 here, very tradable. It's easy enough to go short here. Unlike crypto, easy enough to trade the 4 into the 5. But so this is kind of, do you want to try and trade both sides of the trend, anticipating that retracements here are likely, but the trend is obviously higher. So do you want to try and play in that counter trend mode here? If we're going to go up and realize that 4, you want to try and play the ABC coming down in the 4? Well, that's trader's choice. I don't think you need to worry about catching every swing of this. You want to see, first thing, let's get that median line tag. That's a little bit of a, okay, tagged. Now if we're going to retrace, just using structure, common retracement targets, where you're going to bump into the edge of the value area. There's enough here to support the idea that a 4 into a 5, you might use the oscillators a little bit here. Now this is a daily chart, right? So we're definitely talking about some fairly big moves here. It's deceptively small here. So this is coming. If we get up and tag that at, a tag would be, let's move this off here. What was our high here? 1534. 1536, right? So any sort of a pullback here into this range of 1431, it really sets up that move here. I'm a little askew on the symmetry. God damn, you can't move them without moving them all first time. All right, so this is the play here that I think looks good. So come down for the 4. I'd trade the 4 into the 5. I might let the 4 at that degree. So not to try and play counter trend, right? It's against trader's choice. But I'd be looking here for the 4. This sets up nicely. Again, we're back to that structure. The 4 to the 5, I like it as well. Same kind of idea. You want to play the short side? Here's your 4 here. So the next one. Right now, this thing is trending, raging. We've had a major trend. We had the golden zone hold here, followed by another golden zone that held here. I believe this was a 50, if I'm not mistaken here. Nope, didn't quite make the 50. So this is relatively shallow too. We broke the 38, but didn't make the 50, and then we get this, kind of the mess here that we just looked at, where we're doing some sort of a consolidation and the breakout of that, likely the 3rd. So there's plenty of opportunity to participate in here. It's high volatility, so the risk is certainly higher. Thus, my suggestion would be, unless you're, trading in a 6-figure account, I'd be cautious about being particularly heavy on the size of your trading here, considering the volatility. So that the increased volatility means if you're right, you don't need as much size, but if you're wrong, again, one tweet and the whole thing can collapse. you're not going to get hammered so hard if you're on the wrong side of it. So I approach with caution here under these kind of volatility conditions. We've got financial assets at extremes all over the globe. So this is what traders want. We want this volatility, but along with that volatility comes high risk. Just be conscious of that. All right, guys, kind of went long there at 30 minutes. Okay, there you go. All right, be back to you later.